Hi everyone. I'm doing a video today for my friends that do not live in North America and are wondering what a milkweed plant is. I am no expert on this subject, but I am going to give it a shot here. So there's nothing really special about a milkweed as far as looks goes. It's not a plant you say, oh my, I must have this in my garden or anything like that. The flowers are pretty enough. But there's really nothing about it that you would want to put it in your garden. The only thing that makes it special is it is the host plant of the monarch butterfly. For us to have this monarch butterfly, we have to have milkweed. And this is all through North America here. What makes the monarch so special is it is the only butterfly that is known to migrate south in the winter like a bird. They migrate down to central Mexico, into the mountains of central Mexico, and spend the whole winter just hanging out on trees down there, and they come back up in the spring. Now I am talking about the eastern monarch. There are some on the west coast, west of the Rockies, that overwinter along the coast of California. But the largest migration is, the largest group is from, are called the eastern monarchs. I'm trying to stumble through this, bear with me. Okay, so what it is they come up in about April and May. Every year they start up from Mexico. And as they're coming up and get into the southern U.S., they have like 4 stages they go through. They lay an egg. Egg is it turns to a caterpillar, the caterpillar to a chrysalis, the chrysalis to a butterfly. Now once that monarch lays the eggs, they have a lifespan of like 2 to 6 weeks. And that's it. They lay the eggs, they die. And then the cycle starts all over again with the first generation, second generation, same process. They lay the eggs, they die, and we need, for all this to happen, we need the milkweed, because they need the milkweed. So what they do is their stomping grounds are north of me. I'm in the middle of the U.S. Their stomping grounds, where they like to hang out most, is up in the northern part of the U.S. and the southern part of Canada. I do have monarchs in my garden in the summertime, so there are some around, but the vast majority of them go up north. And as they're making this trip, they're going through this cycle of laying eggs, caterpillar, chrysalis, butterfly, over and over again. So when it comes to fall is when things start to get interesting. And around September and October, I start getting the monarchs back in our area in a larger amount. And this is about the time the milkweed has matured in my yard. So I'm just going to use my milkweed as an example. So they're coming down from up north in, like I said, September and October, and some of them are in their fourth generation of butterfly, but some are only in the third, and there's debate on whether those numbers, but I'm just going to go with the third generation and the fourth are coming down, and they're passing through Missouri, and say if they land on my milkweed and lay an egg, that butterfly dies. But if that egg matures and eventually becomes a butterfly, that's a whole different story. It no longer dies in 2 to 6 weeks, like they've been doing all along. That butterfly that is born in my yard, now like I said, I'm just using my yard as an example, is the one that's going to take the trip down to Mexico and will live down in Mexico. So this trip is, some of these butterflies have come down, they have gone 3,000 miles to get to central Mexico. But give you just like little tissue paper wings. They actually, I don't know how they do it, but they actually channels and stuff they flow on. But so this butterfly, that if it's born in my garden, and some that are passing through, going south, is actually the one that's going to do the migration to Mexico. So they will not lay any eggs, and they'll live 6 to 8 months. And they get down to Mexico. They've never been there before, yet they all meet on these mountains in Mexico, same mountains every year, and they just cover the trees completely. And they don't do much of anything. They don't, lay eggs. They don't really go out in search of food or anything. They just kind of hang out in these trees the whole time. And just one point, this is the way they also are able to determine whether there's been an increase or a decline in the numbers of the monarchs by doing aerial photos over these mountains. And if less trees are being covered in the aerial photos by the monarchs, that means there's been, scientifically some other, kind of decline. And if more are covered than the year before, then it's an increase. There's no other way they can count monarch butterflies. So this is a really good way to do it. So the problem has been in my lifetime, we have just destroyed pretty much a large majority of the milkweed in this country. So the numbers of the monarchs have been declining, and it's not just that we've destroyed the milkweeds, not just the herbicides and the pesticides and everything else. They have their own natural enemies too. But this is the greatest thing, is the milkweeds. So lately there has been a grassroots effort the last few years. Organizations have started, and a grassroots effort to have people grow milkweeds in their gardens, in their yards. And I started, they give free seeds away. If you have seeds, you could send them to these organizations. They will give them out free to other people. So it's pretty neat. This has been going on for several years, Save the Monarch. Now, I can't tell, the numbers. There's big numbers on the decline over the years. I can't tell you what they are. I mean, it's just astronomical. But I do have a personal example of how much there has been a decline as far in my lifetime. When I was a little girl, and side note, I lived here in this house from the age of 4 years old to 19 years old. So I grew up in this house. And when my parents and my dad passed away, I was going to sell the house, but I just ended up moving in because I wanted that big backyard back there to plant in, basically, is what it came down to. So anyway, that's the side note. That's over. But anyway, when I was a little girl, I get so excited because the migrating monarchs would come through. And out on the street in front of my house, they would come through in a cloud over the houses, and they would come weirdly right down the street. And there were thousands and thousands of them. And me and my brothers and sisters used to run up there and turn around and stand in the streets. And they would just go around you and flutter. You could feel them on your hair and on your arms. And it would just go. It seemed like it went on forever, And that was a really cool memory. And every year I couldn't wait until the monarchs migrated down here. And in school, at least in my school, they always had a class in a certain grade where we raised a monarch from a caterpillar to a butterfly. So I mean, they're really special. And since the example is now, I'm living in the same house. There's a few more houses, but we're up on a bluff by the Missouri River, so there's not a lot going on here except a few more houses. And the most monarchs I see are maybe 2 of them together in the garden. That's it. So what I'm doing in my garden is I'm planting a less invasive form of the milkweed, and that's what I was doing out there. I had milkweed in my garden where I put the vegetables, and I kind of let it go this year because I haven't seen caterpillars for a couple of years. Now I feel bad. I'm actually going to give them a dedicated bed over where I showed you in the video, where I'm going to plant swamp and butterfly and spider, and I have some purple milkweed too. And they're less invasive. They don't travel underground, you know, and root up 6 feet from where you plant them. They do reseed themselves, but they're just not an invasive type of milkweed. So that's what I'm doing over there. I'm giving them a dedicated bed. I will not mess with it. That's their milkweed bed. So I'm kind of excited about it. But that is the story, and like I said, I'm no expert on this at all. If anybody else has something they want to add in the comments or correct me about something, please do. I just looked up there to check to make sure the microphone on. Wouldn't that be horrible if I didn't have the microphone on? So anyway, yes, if anybody has any comments here in our country or in Canada they want to add to it, please do. And that's the story on the milkweed. Hey, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.